You're welcome. So what are we doing for your birthday?
Talking about Forged in Fire.
Forged in Fire. Forged in Fire. A History Channel classic about a group of 4 competitors, bladesmiths, armorers, farriers, metalworkers of all kinds, coming together in a competition to beat challenges given to them by the host, Will Willis, and then that other guy nobody cares about, where they have to build things to certain specifications and then have their weapons tested by a bunch of weirdos. It's a pretty cool show.
Yeah.
It's like Chopped, but with metal.
That's, pretty accurate.
Allegedly, when the show was being made, in 2015, I think is when it first came out, so like 2014, the guy who ended up producing it was watching MasterChef with his kid, and his kid was like, man, it'd be cool if they made a show like this, but with weapons. And he was like, oh my gosh, I'm an executive at a place that makes TV shows. Let's do it. And then it was going to be about guns. They're like, wow, this is really difficult. We're not going to do this anymore. So they made it about knives.
Wasn't there a show about like gun makers like that?
Maybe eventually, but this show was supposed to be about guns, but it was going to be one competition was a season long, and so they had a whole season to make these guns, and I feel like that would have been really boring.
Yeah, it would. You don't get to see as many new faces and stuff, new weapons.
Yeah. So, Forged in Fire came out in 2015. It's had 9 seasons, 211 episodes. I don't know how. I don't, like, me and Marty have watched the show quite a bit. So, I mean, even since it was new. So I moved in with Marty in like 2016, and it came out in 2015. So it was probably only a season old when we started watching it quite frequently. And it was a lot of fun watching it, like, because it was always something different. I feel like there's not that many weapons for them to explore after 211 episodes.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of them look the same. They just have different names.
Yeah, 100%.
But it doesn't matter because it's, the artistic touch that anybody can make a different kind of handle or guard or whatever. They always make them look different.
Yeah, I think something they need to look into more is doing more specials, like themed episodes where they're doing something for a video game or for a movie or a comic book or something like that.
Yeah, I like that too. Or maybe even like a fantasy episode,
Yeah.
Like make a metal lightsaber.
That would, I believe that's called rebar, Marty.
It doesn't have to be round. I mean, just like the hilt,
Okay. Yeah, I think they just need to do more fantastical stuff and themed episodes. But what they do is pretty fun. I mean, they've been on for a while. And even this show has inspired, I feel like, a lot of spinoffs. Because now you've got, like, Tim Allen and Al Borland from Home Improvement. They have their own show now where it's the same thing, but it's, like, building tools.
Yeah, I think I watched one episode of it where they had a lawnmower and they had to incorporate a recliner into the lawnmower.
Yeah.
I don't think I watched anything after that one episode.
I've watched a couple of episodes of it. I like the show. The problem is they had the worst timing. So it started filming right when COVID hit, which meant they couldn't do anything in studio. And I think that's what hurt them because everybody's having to do everything from home. So it doesn't feel as good, It's not like you're really watching a competition. You're just watching people at home.
It felt too messy, not really structured enough.
Yeah, it was pretty messy, but I think I still liked it. I'm just a huge Tim Allen simp, though. I do love me some Tim Allen. This show, though, it's had its own spinoffs, too. So we've got, like, Knife or Death.
And then Beat the Judges.
Beat the Judges. Knife or Death, to me, one of the greatest reality shows of all time because of how stupid every competitor is for the most part. Like, you've got either the weirdest people in society or the dumbest people in society. Like, the first 1 or 2 episodes, one of the competitors is a guy who bought his knife at a gas station to do this competition, and it broke immediately.
Yeah.
And he kept saying it was forged by a Palestinian knife maker. And it's this guy who's wearing, like, just the most gangster clothes you can imagine, too. And he just walks up with a gas station knife that looks like an oil spill where it's all, like, shiny and rainbow glittery. And it just immediately gets destroyed. And then you've got the the weeb that went on there dressed up as a samurai, and he had this quote authentic katana that's allegedly like hundreds of years old, and then immediately breaks it during the challenge. So, if you haven't seen this show, it's a comedy. Yeah. The Knife or Death is a comedy. Forged in Fire is a competition show, and Knife or Death is supposed to be a competition show, but it's more of a joke than it is anything. You've got Goldberg from, is that his name? Goldberg, yeah, from WWE, hosting a show with a bunch of guys who bought knives at gas stations trying to do obstacle courses with it. So if you haven't watched it, you should, because for the first several episodes, nobody made it past like the second obstacle in the obstacle course, which was like cutting a fish. Like nobody could cut a fish with their knife.
I remember there was one guy from Forged in Fire that he was the guy that had to like inspect their weapon for safety before they could go do the course. Yes. But he didn't. I don't even think he won Forged in Fire. He might have, but he wasn't a very memorable competitor.
No, it was. But I really loved the spinoff. But Forged in Fire of itself, yeah, great show. Lots of fun to watch. When you first get into it, I feel like now they're kind of stretching themselves a little bit thin because they're kind of running out of things to do. Because I think they're sticking too hard with their structure. And there's only so many weapons you can make. And here's another problem. The people who do blacksmithing are not exactly the most
normal members of society.
Right. And they're all poor. Like, all of them live in shacks in the boonies somewhere. That's actually whenever I was trying to find some info on the show and everything, that was one of the things that kept popping up is the competitors in the show are really poor.
I don't feel like that's always true because you see some of the guys at their home forge and they have like a whole shop and power hammers and all the equipment and everything.
Yeah, sure, but a lot of them.
You're right. I remember there was one dude, I think, I don't know what he was. He was barely spoke English, but anyway, he got the fire department called on him because he had a trash can in his backyard with a bunch of coal that he was starting a fire in, and that was his forging station.
Oh gosh!
But I think he won.
Yeah, it's just a lot of poor people, a lot of weird people, and not a lot of women. Like they try really hard to find girls to go on this show. They try very hard because it's hard. First of all, it's hard to find any women that are into metal crafting in the first place, and then you've got to convince them to do a competition show. So the producers have said that's been one of the biggest struggles with the show is trying to find women competitors. I don't see why they have to force themselves to find women competitors, unless you're doing a special. It's like men versus women or women only, something like that. But obviously, there's not enough people to do that.
Yeah, they've brought back a few people for second rounds.
Oh yeah, I mean. One of the judges has done the show 9 times.
Ben?
It starts with a B. I don't remember his name.
Well, he was a 2-time champion, I think.
I don't know. He's done it 9 times now.
Really?
Yeah. He's done the show 9 times. I don't know if he won all 9 times.
Yeah, I like Ben.
Yeah, they've gone through a few judges, and they've had 2 hosts. The first host was a really cool Air Force guy. And then, I don't know, the new guy is like an Army dude, and I didn't like him that much. He didn't have the same personality.
He didn't. Will, I don't know. Will just is always going to be the Forged in Fire host to me.
Yep.
The new guy just hasn't quite filled his shoes.
Yeah, 100%. The judges. So you've got David. Nilsson. What's that?
So you got Jade Nilsson.
David,
I don't know his last name.
Blake?
Baker. Bakerfield?
No, Baker, yeah.
Baker.
David Baker.
Yeah. And then Doug Marcaida, your favorite.
Yeah, Doug Marcaida is the cringiest person I've ever seen on TV. Every time he speaks, it makes my skin crawl. And he is a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier, where the people who do this kind of stuff for fun are not normal people. They're like really just weirdos.
You know what you're doing right now, Frank?
Judging people?
You're projecting.
I'm projecting. I am weird. Don't get me wrong. I'm a weirdo. But I'm not like this kind of weirdo. The guy, I don't want to slam him for his looks because he can't 100% control that. But he can somewhat. He looks weird. He talks weird. He acts weird. He gives me, what's his name from King of the Hill? Dale. He gives me Dale vibes if Dale was also a weeb. and was also obsessed with like ancient weapons. He's just so weird, man. And then he does that stupid little line of his whenever he does the test. He's like, "It will kill. It will cut." Like, shut up! I hate you. Is his name Doug?
Yeah.
Yeah, his name's Doug too. Like Doug.
I don't know. I like Doug. He seems like a nice guy.
I'm sure he is, but he's still weird.
I don't like Jay, and I've never liked Jay. And in the first like early seasons, I think Jay got injured or something.
Is he is he like the chubbier one? Like the younger guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has steadily gotten fatter.
Yeah, he is kind of obnoxious. I'll give you that.
But yeah, the first couple seasons when he got injured, they brought in that other guy, Jason Knight, and I liked him. And I think they should have just stuck with him. His character was cooler. Like, I don't know, his personality seemed cooler.
That David guy, also a weirdo. I mean, he dresses like
man's got swag.
He's like, he thinks he's a steampunk like scientist or something. I don't know what he's going for here. He just seems like the kind of guy who would always have a pocket watch on, and that he would probably wear a monocle.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I don't know. He pulls it off to me.
Sure. Okay, as good as you can in 2023. But he's also, I would say, probably the oldest person on the show. So yeah, he's still weird. They're all weird. No, except for Will Wilson or whatever. Willis. He was cool. He wasn't weird, and I think that's what made like the show bearable. Is he offset their socially awkwardness with his like suave hipness?
Yeah, I think Jason was kind of the same way. He wasn't like awkward or weird either. You don't remember him?
No, I don't. Not off the top of my head.
He had the like big goatee beard thing.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean the premise of the show is a lot like Chopped, where they'll have 4 people come out and then they'll have a round where there's something weird that they have to go through. So they have to use a certain kind of metal, or they have to make a certain kind of weapon with certain parameters, and they have a limited amount of time. And so they mix it up somehow, like, oh, we've got this old broken down Jeep, and you have to make your knife using metal that you salvaged from this old Jeep and stuff like that. And so that's cool, and they'll do a round. And then if somebody doesn't meet parameters, they get kicked off, or something happens. They'll figure out who to kick off, and then they'll go to the next round and they'll make their weapon a little more improved. And they're having drama this whole time, and people are getting hot and sweaty. Apparently, the working conditions there are awful. They're doing like 14-hour days filming. And the forge is so hot that people are constantly passing out from overheating. And so they're having to constantly like water people, like plants, to keep them from dying. So, and it's filmed in Brooklyn of all places. I did not think it would have been filmed in New York City specifically. But, it's a fun little competition show. You get to see people hack away at stuff. I like it.
If you watch it long enough, you get this like false sense of confidence that you
100%.
could do it.
100%. I don't know how many times
I could do it, but I know I can't.
I don't know how many times me and Marty have talked about starting to like try to forge something. But there are places you can go to teach how to forge. And being veterans, there's places that do it for free. And Ben, funny enough, in one of his championship episodes where they were doing it for charity, the charity that he picked is the charity that does the free classes for veterans.
We should look into that, Frank.
I think it's in Virginia. See, we'd have to spend like a week there or something. But, I mean, we could do that. We could do that for the next brocation or something. I still think it'd be fun. Yeah, I mean, it makes you want to learn how to do forging, but it makes you not want to hang out with people who do forging.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And I'm not trying to be mean to everybody who's into that hobby. It's just, you can't pretend that they are what most people think of in society, of just the average person, Most of them, and not all of them, some of them I'm sure are really cool or really wealthy or whatever, but a lot of them are just dorks. And that's coming from somebody who is a dork, Like, when you were in high school, if you went to a high school that had junior ROTC, you didn't think of those guys as being the cool kids in school, okay?
Yeah, these are the J-Rotzy kids and the kids that ran around like Naruto.
Yep, 100%. And I was both of those. No, I was not both of those. I was Junior ROTC. I did not Naruto run, but I was. Not only was I in Junior ROTC, but I was the corps commander of my Junior ROTC unit. So throw some respect on that to this cadet major over here or whatever I was. Yeah, cringe. Yeah, lots of cringe in these people. Lots of cringe. But they do some really cool stuff, and they can make things that I couldn't even imagine making. And so a lot of respect in that. They're definitely masters of their craft.
One thing I will say is the type of people, and I don't know if it's just the producers of the show that make it this way, but you never see a lot of drama on the show, really.
No.
Like, the people, they play nice.
Yep.
They're all friendly to each other. It's not like Inked Master or something where they're all just assholes to each other.
Yeah, everybody's at each other's throats all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say out of all of the competition shows I've watched, this one has the absolute least amount of, like, mean-spiritedness.
Yeah.
All right, let's do some frank facts about the old Forged in Fire. Let me pull up my notes here. I just wrote them down. All right. Yep. Got that. Okay, so if you have seen the show, you know that at the end of the last round in the studio, and then at the end of the episode when they decide the winner, all the losers hand their weapons to the judges. And it's like this big dramatic thing, and you're like, oh man, these guys have to turn in their weapons, and it's like, they work so hard on them, and it kind of pulls the heartstrings on. Do you know why they have to turn in their weapons, Marty?
Why?
It's not for dramatic effect. It's for legal reasons, apparently. The show doesn't want somebody to make a knife on that show and then go stab somebody with it, and so they take their weapons from them.
But these are people that have forges at home.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why. It's 100% for legal reasons only.
Yeah, because even the winners have to surrender their weapon over.
Right. Yeah, so they make it seem like it's just like this big dramatic thing, but they're just doing it for...
The one thing I don't like is when they send them home to their home forge, right? Mm-hmm. And they make this weapon with
their own material.
Yep. Yeah, they still have to give it up.
Yep.
I don't like that.
But if they win, they get 10 grand.
True.
So... Yeah, but if you lose,
some of these swords though, like if you were to go to a blacksmith, and
you'd probably be paying 10 grand for it.
Exactly.
Okay. Also, whenever they're testing their weapons, they do a lot of like chopping through pigs and fish and other animals. So we've talked about this before. You know, when we're watching it, like, man, what a waste of meat. Why are you just cutting all this crap up? Like, where do they get this? It doesn't look rotted or anything. They eat it.
Good.
Yeah, they barbecue. Like, they'll have a barbecue after the episode, and they'll cook that food up, and they'll eat it.
That's exactly what I hoped that they did, but now that I know, I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wish I worked there now.
Hell yeah.
I don't know, actually, because I hate being hot. I don't think I could be in that room for very long, filming. 14 hours is a long time to be in a room with furnaces.
So, do you think the judges, like, actually just sit there and watch them the whole time?
I don't. They could, but I hope not.
Because the first round is usually 3 hours, and the second round is 2.
The judges, I'd say maybe for the judges. The hosts, no. Definitely not. And they probably all rotate to go use the bathroom and stuff, too. Because, like I said earlier, a 14-hour, like, a day filming, that's a lot to be sitting in there watching people just beating metal with hammers. In 2017... somebody watched this show and was like, hey, I can do that. And they decided to start forging something at their house, right? Or apartment. I don't know what it was, right? It was in New York. Lit their domicile on fire, and the 3 buildings next to it. Got charged with arson and is now in jail. That kind of sucks.
Yeah. But you can't let people keep their own knives.
You know, it's weird to me that guy got charged with arson. Doesn't arson have to, like, don't you have to be trying to light something on fire for it to be arson?
Yeah, I don't really know the definition, but I thought it was, like, intent to burn down something.
I guess there could be an accidental arson.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it was an accident, but he got charged with arson. So, don't try this at home, kids, unless you have a forge and you're responsible. And then do it all you want.
Extinguisher.
This is America. You know what? Forget about it. Do whatever you want. This is America. If you want to try it at home, try it at home. They can't tell you what to do.
Not if you're my neighbor. No thanks.
Don't listen to him. You don't even know if you're his neighbor or not. All right, go start a fire in your backyard and forge with it. Just make sure it's contained. Be responsible, but do what you want. But be responsible.
Yeah.
But do what you want. Okay. David Baker, one of the judges, the weird one.
Stop saying that.
Well, okay, yeah, I know they're all weird. The one who dresses like a steampunk guy.
The classy gentleman.
Classy gentleman. He made the weapons for a movie that you may or may not have seen called Dragon Ball Evolution.
Oof.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, he is a weirdo.
Hey, funny enough, you're wearing a Dragon Ball shirt right now.
Sure am.
Or is that a Dragon Ball shirt or a Dragon Ball Z shirt?
I'm gonna say Dragon Ball.
I'm gonna say Dragon Ball Z. I think, didn't he have that pattern on his shirt in Dragon Ball?
I don't know.
Okay, but moving on. Do you know who starred in Dragon Ball Evolution?
Some white dude that didn't look like Goku.
Yeah, I think his name's Justin Chatwin. Something Chatwin, right? He's famous for another movie called War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise. You know who directed War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise?
Who?
Steven Spielberg, who went on to direct Jurassic Park 10 years before that. Went on to. Okay, there. I did it, guys. I did it. I can do it again. So Forged in Fire spawned a spinoff called Knife or Death, which we talked about earlier. Knife or Death was hosted by Goldberg. Goldberg was in a TV show called Law and Order SVU. Somebody who was also in that episode with him is named B.D. Wong. And B.D. Wong starred in Jurassic Park. I got two in this one. This one was a little easier to do than most things. But all right, Marty. What's your final rating for Forged in Fire?
I give it 7 forges out of 8 fires.
I give it 3 it with kids. Oh, screw you, Doug. If you ever listen to this, say that one more time and say that in front of my face, Doug. Say it in front of my face. All right, I'll show you what kills. I'm just kidding, Doug. All right. Well, I think that about wraps up this special. But before we go, I would like to sing Happy Birthday to Marty. Happy birthday to you. No, I'm just kidding. Could you imagine if I did the thing from Breaking Bad?
That is the most cringy thing in the world. I'll watch The Scorpion King, all 5 of them, every day for the rest of my life instead of listening to that.
Oh, man. Well, happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you. All right, guys. We're going to go, and we're going to go enjoy some Texas Roadhouse, maybe. Probably not. And then we're going to go take some naps. So we'll see y'all in the next one, maybe? What are we going to do for the next one? Dragon Ball Evolution. No, I'm just kidding. Alright, guys. Bye-bye.